Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing today? Welcome to today's POCO F3's The Real Beast live stream. And I'll welcome everyone around the world to join us on live stream. Very happy to be here. And today we actually have a very special tech influencer. Joshua, you would like to introduce yourself?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? What Angus just said is very true. People all around the world tuning in right now. It is 5 a.m. where I am, but that just goes to show I feel very privileged to be here. Thank you so much for having me, by the way. I'm really excited for our talk.
No, I'm very happy that you're here, and you woke up super early for this, and I really appreciate that. So yeah, today we're going to talk about the POCO F3. So this was the device that was launched almost 3 weeks ago, around mid-March. I remember, if I'm correct. Maybe not even mid-March, a little bit later. But yeah, I'm very happy to be here and very excited to talk about this phone. So today, we have three colors here: the POCO F3 in here. And, Joshua, I believe you have one yourself.
I do indeed.
And then you also have one. Yes. So we're matching. So yeah, Joshua, give me a breakdown. Like, were you super excited to get this device? I remember we gave it to you pretty early on, right?
A little bit early on, yeah. And I have to say, as far as any release from POCO is concerned, I'm always excited for them. If I can give a little bit of history, actually, I was actually looking at some older videos over on my YouTube channel, and I remember the POCO F1. I found my old video of the POCO F2 Pro. And just even from the beginning with the F1, every release seems so exciting because it was able to bring such great specifications for very good prices. And it continues with the F3, which I'm really happy about. We're going to talk a lot about performance and everything a little bit later, but I will say, once this thing came in, I threw some of my games on here. I started using it on the daily. It was working great. And we're going to talk about all of that soon.
For sure. So some of the fans are commenting, they're saying hello. So hi, everyone. So actually, today we're going to start with the design of the phone. This is one of the big points, I think, for our F series. So what was your first take? I would like to know your first take, and I'll probably run you through some of the design philosophy that we came up here. And then we also wanted to make sure some of the improvements we made from previous generation. What was your first initial thoughts?
Well, first thought was how thin the phone is. Considering everything that this device can do, I'm actually really impressed with just how sleek it can be. The thought that came right after that was how shiny it is, and you might notice. I mean, probably both Angus and I are going to be wiping it down quite a lot.
Yes, it's a very glossy finish for the black. For the black, it is. For the night black, it's very glossy. We do have the white, which is Arctic white. So this is
that one looks
matte
really
finish.
Dope.
Yeah,
oh, that's
it's super nice.
Finish.
It's actually, it's a matte finish. So it's like it's a yin and yang type of feel. So we wanted to go with the matte finish on the white. And then we also have obviously the special color that we made for the F3. We called it a deep ocean blue. So obviously it was like 3 different type of blues into one device technically, because it's got like 3 IDs. But yeah, it was super exciting when I first saw this. I thought that the whole design was very, unique. And it was really difficult to nail this down. I think it's so difficult right now is that we're still trying our very best to push these out to our users. So you can actually, for the fans around the world, before we actually get started, you can talk into the real specs. You can actually get the POCO F3 in night black and Arctic white on AliExpress, which we have a link below on the YouTube channel. And you can apply the early bird coupon from AliExpress to get these for only $2.99, and $2.99 in some regions only for $2.99 USD, and also some for 2.99 euros. So it's like an absolutely killer deal. So today we will talk about why this is such a cool phone to have and how great it is. So kind of following up what Josh just said about the weight, that was one of our biggest priorities. So we wanted, I think since last year, from the F2 Pro, the X3 NFC, and the M3, from all of our series, I wouldn't say we were the heaviest phones in the market, but we were definitely on the heavier side. And for the F2 Pro, on the heavier side, I think ever since then was because we had put a huge liquid cooled system in it. And on top of it with a lot of, basically a pretty big battery at that time as well. Like a year ago, I think that was still one of the bigger batteries. And then basically we want to kind of narrowed it down this time just to make it a really thin device compared to all of the previous generation phone, and just wanted to try it out. But the battery size was still maintained around 4,500, which was, I think for me, it was pretty impressive, done by our design team and R&D. But yeah, I think the weight is nice. I personally like a bit of a heavier phone rather than like a super, super light phone. I don't know how
Which
you
might be
feel
true.
about
Like
that,
I'm right there with you as far as like the heft of the device. I think the thickness, I mean, if this were a heavier phone, that would be great, but it's still, if to be able to achieve it while still being so thin, I think that ergonomically it really helps. And not to mention the fact that, you know, with the performance and the type of experience you'd want to have on this phone, the screen is it's a good size for this screen. But the other thing that I wanted to mention as far as design is concerned, I don't know if it's one of those subtle things. It's always the little things that you kind of notice. This fingerprint reader in the power button, this is, I think at least for me, like I mess with a lot of different devices. This is the only fingerprint reader that I think is in a power button that actually sticks out of the phone, which I think is a nice little subtle touch.
Yeah. So one of the things that I think it was never a huge concern for users in general, where, you know, there was a little dent into it to kind of make you recognize that this is a fingerprint reader. For us, it's just like we wanted to make it a bit cleaner and a little bit more ergonomic in general. And even though it wasn't an issue, but we saw some not complaints, maybe like a little bit comments where the edges are kind of sharp. When it digged in, so kind of flatten it out and just make it seem like it was any power button on any phone, but it did act like a fingerprint reader, which was really nice. And this is one of the points that when I first saw it, and I was just like, wait, is this, you know, a fingerprint reader? Yeah. So they wanted me to show you the phone. The team loves this color, so this is a matte white.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best to do that as well.
Yeah. It is quite nice, and it's very clean overall, and it's got Corning Gorilla Glass 5 glass front and back, so it's pretty sturdy, and I would say it's more towards the high end now, rather than like, you know, just plastic and back, just purely plastic in the back.
I'm a little bit envious of that. I'm a little bit envious of that white color, especially now that I know that it's a matte finish. I will admit. And this is funny because Angus and I always have this conversation. The last time we had a talk like this, he had a color that I really wanted as well.
I'm so sorry about that, but we'll work hard to get Joshua a better color.
Well, you're doing a great job usually, of showing it off, but this is still a beautiful device.
Yeah, I think for us, you know, we also took in consideration that a lot of our fans are basically, they're going to put a cover on this, and usually I would too, and I did when I first got the white, and I used my white for basically as the first daily driver. Ever since we basically started the project. And, you know, I usually like, you know, black color phone or darker color phones. So it was the first time that I was rocking a white phone, and I really enjoyed it. It was a really pleasant experience. So I did see someone who are constantly asking about this issue with heating. And I'd like to address that right now, actually. I'd like to address that right now. This is a known issue, and our team here, who is all around me technically, except out of the camera. They're listening, and they're also known as the issue. They're reading the comments. So we're gonna make sure we're gonna fix it. It's an OTA issue, and then we're gonna make sure we're gonna fix it. It's already been known, and our team's working on it. But that's related to the performance, and I think we can get into that because I think Joshua is super excited for it. I'm super excited for it. So it is using. I actually have a cube plate here. Which sums up basically all the performance here. So this is the summary of the POCO F3's performance. So what people who didn't know about the phone beforehand, we do feature a Snapdragon 870, which is one of the latest chipset launched by Qualcomm this year in 2021. And then it's also basically 5G ready, Wi-Fi 6, and for ROM and RAM, flagship level with LPDDR5 and UFS 3.1. And then we maintain liquid cooling technology. It's liquid cooling technology 1.0 plus. And one of the big reasons why we put 1.0 plus was actually because we wanted to keep the device thin, but we didn't want to sacrifice it by just removing it completely. And then, you know, for us, you know, here's an Antutu score. And the Antutu score here it says 640,758. Now I've seen YouTube reviews outside of, you know, our own R&D. And then basically, I've seen scores way higher than that. So I don't know if you ran a test yet, but I personally saw scores that was like hitting almost 70,000, which is insane, which is close to like, I think the Snapdragon 888 is around like 74, 75, 740,000, 750,000. So yeah, this is a crazy processor. So I know you've done some gaming, so want to share experience?
That was the thing. This is one of the this is the only phone I have in my possession that has the Snapdragon 870, which already makes it an incredibly special device. And while the scores, and people can probably expect that the scores are not going to be quite as high as the Snapdragon 888, but let me just allay anybody's concerns. It's not really that big of an issue at all, because this is still like a powerful processor, and the phone is doing a great job with all the experiences that I'm having. You mentioned benchmarking and scoring and whatnot. I actually don't do many benchmarks anymore. I used to a lot, but it really came down to the moment I set up the phone, certain apps and certain games get installed immediately, and it's through those particular experiences that I want to know if the performance is up to par. And I got to tell you, I've gamed on this phone more than anything else over the last few weeks since I've gotten it. I'm very satisfied with the performance so far. And the Snapdragon 870, especially with the 5G. I actually have a funny story. We're going to keep talking about, we're going to keep coming back to gaming more and more while we're talking.
For sure.
I'll give one quick example right now. While I was playing Wild Rift one time, I was like in the middle of a match, and I'm not the best at the game yet, but in this particular moment, everything all of a sudden froze. It had nothing to do with the phone. My internet went out. So I just turned off the Wi-Fi. Enough. Yeah, I turned off the Wi-Fi, went straight to the 5G, and I was able to get right back in. And I was able to finish the entire match and actually win the match solely on 5G connection. Nice. So I was like, it's good to have so much of this like high specification here. So it all pays off.
No, I mean 100%. I think most of the time when I actually game, I actually play on 5G. I think it's just more stable for some reason. Whether during at home or in the office, when I try out games, I actually just leave it on 5G. But yeah, it's a 5G able device. So for the regions who do have 5G, this is awesome. It is great, and it's got good connectivity. So one of the things that I think was really shocking for me was that when we first basically started gaming on this, because we had to do a various tests, and I would just download Genshin Impact, I would download Call of Duty, and then Honor of Kings, and start trying it out. I think one of the things that really, really satisfying was that I never experienced like a frame rate lag, like even when it was like 1 hour through of gaming, which was honestly shocking for me at one time. I think this is one of the points a lot of people, talk about. Basically, do we need the latest flagship processor like all the time? Like is Snapdragon 888, like basically if you don't have it, you can't do any gaming with it. But actually, when I first thought that, and I saw the 870, even though it's basically a modified 865, which was last year's flagship. And I think for this price point of $299 as an early bird, or even $349 as a retail price, like the performance ratio is crazy. Like when I realized that, okay, it's better than last year's flagship, and there are some phones out there that's selling for 1,000 euros last year for 865, or just above 800 euros, and you're getting that same performance with a little bit more boost on top of it for $299. Like, that's mind blowing for me personally.
And it's great.
And basically
it's great that the processors are starting to have a little bit more nuance between the versions. That way you can have these little boosts for these, in your case, the flagship for POCO right now in the F3. But, what's funny is a lot of the conversation that we're having in terms of really high performance and all of the settings that you can turn on in games, we were having those discussions already last year anyway with the 865, and it would just continues with the 870. So like the experiences are just getting bumped up little by little and all in the right direction. So I'm very happy to be able to experience the 870 because of this phone.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's taking all the benefits of 865, right? I think everyone knows that 865 was a great processor. Like last year, it was literally you know, the king of processors up until the 888 was announced. And even then, I feel like because I was using the F2 Pro before getting my hands on this, and I was gaming throughout F2 Pro, which features the A65, I never had a problem with it. You know, if I went back right now and I use the A65 phone, I'm not going to feel like, oh, it's so much laggier than the A70 or the 888. So that was kind of the reason why I really appreciated how R&D did this and made this an actual device that, you know, could have such amazing performance for such a low price. So one of the things I also want to mention was that at this price range, UFS 3.1 and LPDDR5 is also quite rare to see. Now, I never feel like it was such a big highlight for phones, and I never feel like it was such a very big important part of a phone. But I actually went through a lab, and I went through with our product managers to go look at the differences of UFS 3.1 and UFS 2.2 or UFS 2.3, and it was mind blowing. Like the way it loads games and the way you download and open apps, it's actually crazy how much faster it is. And that was one of the things I feel like, holy, like how do we put this as well into a 300 device? You know, you kind of imagine, oh, they might slack a little bit on ROM and RAM because they got to, you know, make it somehow, you know, not super perfect for flagship devices. But we managed to do it. And that was the one thing that I was really impressed with, the overall performance of F3.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. Especially, again, we come back to the whole price point discussion because, you know, this thing is called the real beast. And when you think about what that terminology is supposed to be, what are the things that you're doing literally every single day? And it's using your phone. And it's actually like, whether it's playing games or it's doing something in terms of productivity, you need to have a beast in order to handle all of those things. So you're right. Like, it's not just the processor, it's also all of the bits and pieces around that engine. So yeah, I'm like you, I never really noticed those little subtle things like the UFS 3.1 or anything like that. But yeah, now that you mention it, I haven't had any input lag. I haven't had any actual loading lag or anything like that. Multitasking is perfectly fine. There are times when I would put the game in the background, watch a YouTube video, and still be able to come back to the game without it having to reload.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think that was one of the things that I was like super impressed. And then, you know, one of the things that we got to talk about since we've gone through this is actually how it displays the performance. So we got to talk about display. Now display was one of the bigger pain points for us as a whole team since last year, since the F2 Pro, right? I think the F2 Pro, we put on an amazing AMOLED screen. However, there was only 60 hertz. It wasn't high refresh rate. And that was one of the biggest complaints or feedback from users all over the world, not just the people who bought it. I think it turned off even some people from buying it. So one of the big focus points for us for the F3 was, look, we nailed performance last year. Let's try to nail display. And this year, I truly believe we put in even more effort on display, more than ever, you know, and it's actually one of the best displays on the market right now. So it's called the E4 AMOLED, and it does feature, you know, the 120 hertz that fans, you know, were craving for since last year. And, you know, it's not so uncommon now. I think 120 hertz is not super uncommon. But it is still flagship level. You know, we're still not seeing anything too much above that. And if you do, it's probably in like specific gaming phones. So 120 was good for us. But one of the things that we actually took up another notch was actually the touch sampling rate. The touch sampling rate was actually 360 hertz touch sampling rate. Indeed. So when you were gaming, when I was gaming, I think it was basically it was solved a lot. Basically, it was super fast. When I was like, you know, touching and reacting. And it was actually a little bit noticeable compared to the F2 Pro when I was doing it, which was significant improvement from our side. Yeah, so I was wondering how's your overall experience? Maybe you watched some videos as well.
Yeah, I'm a media junkie through and through, so there's always going to be like YouTube playing or anything like that. And actually, I was going to mention, I actually kept one of what you guys call the super wallpapers. I kept it on here because I just loved the way that the AMOLED was showing off this green pasture, this particular wallpaper, which is a great example of why the AMOLED colors are so nice. And I have to say, it's been a wonderful experience, like especially jumping into a lot of different games and a lot of different media. The colors are really nice. The contrast ratio is lovely. And of course, that 120 hertz refresh rate, you're absolutely right that last year with the F2 Pro, it just wasn't one of those specs that you would see more often in like general phones, unless they were specialized in, let's say, gaming or anything like that. But now, you know, you have this particular display with the 120 hertz refresh rate. It's awesome. I will always prefer the higher refresh rate. And it's really great that that it's able to come on, like, again, a phone that's thin, pretty light, you know, the performance is even more, you can feel it even more because of that refresh rate. It just kind of gives you that extra feel. One other thing you were mentioning, I mentioned earlier that the UFS 3.1 is one of those things that you don't really notice. Like you just enjoy your experience. The same thing goes for the touch sampling rate. I've had no latency as far as touch is concerned or anything like that. Obviously, that's going to be the case because it's 360 hertz on here. But again, it's one of those little things that you don't really notice, but it benefits you all the time.
Correct. Yeah. I think it's one of the things that, I mean, obviously, a lot of people say it's, you know, on a phone, it's only actually really useful when you're gaming. Otherwise, it's not really fully turned on, or it's switched back to default. However, I think one of the things that we want to make sure is that we can try to push our, you know, our display to the limit and try to make sure it can get as good as it gets, and then still keep the price to a very low. So for everyone who joined mid-middle, you know, F3 is still available at an early bird price today on AliExpress, and it's only for $299 to start with. So it's crazy. So I am seeing a lot of fans trying to ask some questions. So it's always out of stock. Yeah, so it is running out quick. I think we did a really good pre-sale when it first launched. So it is running out really quick. So I think fans around the world who really wants to try this device out or get it, you need to act quick. I think it's a great device. And yeah, I think there's quite a few so people are asking for Edo already. Edo will be joining us very, very soon. He'll be coming very soon. So we do have a special guest, as well as for those who joined us from last week from POCO F3, we have also another amazing fan from POCO community who's going to join us very shortly. There is no shipping to Morocco. So actually, if you can contact that on community, we'll make sure that we can try to find out a way to get you to ship it there. Will there be an F3 Pro? So this is a question that I've been getting for a while, and I'm not gonna lie, I might have been getting it ever since. Yeah. So Joshua did ask this question. As of right now, I would say there's no massive plans for Pro. It's not an impossibility, but there's no concrete. I'm not going to say that we're going to launch it for sure. But we will have new devices coming out sooner than most people will expect. And yeah, so today we talked about a display. We talked about, you know, the AMOLED. You know, I kind of want to know, what about the experience? So one of the big things that I instantly was like in love with this phone was actually the linear motor. So when you type, you know, when you first got the phone and when I first set it up, the whole vibration of this phone was just, it was just not even comparable from everything else that I've tried from my past devices, because we actually installed the latest X-axis linear motor, which is used in $1,000 phones, like legit $1,000 phones. So X-axis linear motor is, you know, what you see in all the flagships right now. Basically from all the brands, not just from POCO, not just from, you know, other brands. It's literally all the brands are using this X-axis linear motor. So there was one thing that I immediately realized what an amazing improvement and an experience it is to type on this phone. And obviously when you're gaming as well, you know, when you get the vibration, it's relatively nice.
That's a really good point, actually.
So
this is actually news to me, kind of, because I didn't know that I personally did not know that type of motor was being used on here as far as the haptics engine is concerned. But I will say that I did notice that difference, though, because a lot of phones that come in at around this price point, or even some that are higher than this, they have what I would call that high pitch vibration. That's sort of like a dead giveaway.
It's like
that
sharp.
It's not.
It's
sharp.
It's like sharp.
It's a dead giveaway that it's not like the highest quality motor in there. And it's a good, that's news to me. I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because now I can put actual like detail behind that particular aspect. That's really awesome.
Yeah, I think it's one of the features I really appreciated. And then we obviously also have dual speakers. So dual speakers is also one of the things that we went from F2 Pro's single speaker, which was a special single speaker. I do admit that when I used F2 Pro, that single speaker was oddly loud, to the point that I was like, I'm not sure if this is single. But this time we actually put dedicated speakers on the top and bottom, which gives a really nice like audio experience and video experience in general. I used my X3 Pro and the F3 to actually listen to podcasts at night. I've tried with both, and both was amazing. I like to usually listen to podcasts and just leave my phone on in the bed, which was, it's like just needs to be a little bit above the minimum volume, and I can hear it crystal clear. It's awesome. So one of the also things, I don't know if you had an issue, was like when you're gaming sometimes, you know, when you're holding it like this, like you block your speakers, but because these are like quite loud, like at the end of the day, you actually, it'll just go through and it doesn't get blocked completely. But yeah, it's one of the things that we considered and was why we put in dual speakers as well. But yeah, what do you think of the sound quality?
Yeah, the dual speakers are doing a lovely job, and I actually have a couple of anecdotes as far as that. To be fair, the high-res wireless audio is something that I leverage a little bit more. I'm wearing these headphones right now. I tend to have earbuds in, but also I'm also kind of a fan of audio glasses, so I tend to have some form of audio always.
Awesome.
Yeah, so the thing is that the audio has been coming in just fine. And as far as actually playing games using the dual speakers, yeah, you're right. They get quite loud and they're pretty full and rich. To kind of mold the audio and the display experience, I actually have a video of all of my gaming experience that will be coming out on my YouTube channel a little bit later today.
Sweet.
So if you want to see even more about these details, you can see that over on my channel, youtube.com/Joshua Vergara, if I can plug that real quick. But one thing that I bring up is that while you could be using the great performance in the phone for mobile gaming, there's also game streaming. And coupling the game streaming, like if I were to do remote play to my consoles, or like, let's say, Game Pass streaming or anything like that, the display really does a great job with that. So it's a great display. And then I can use the speakers. Since I have the phone in a controller, I'm not covering up those speakers. Right. So even then, it's not a problem. The speakers do a great job of letting me play those game streams. So there's so many different ways that you can leverage the different features that POCO, that you guys put into this phone, which is awesome.
Awesome. No, I really appreciate like how much you really enjoy this phone. I can tell you guys, you tried out a bunch of things on it. It's awesome. I think I really appreciate that. And it's why I love chatting with, you know, a reviewer, because I think you guys dig deep into the device and maybe even figure out some of the things that we don't actually know or we don't even try. So it is almost 8:30, and I see that a lot of fans were asking, so is POCO going to launch in India? I think there's a lot of fans asking that. As of right now, I don't have an official answer. That is an answer that you actually, if you go to POCO India and actually also follow Anuj, who's the head of POCO at India, he will actually have more information. I'm not in a position to talk about it, but I hope everyone can go ask that. And it is time for 8:30. I would actually like to invite Edo into our live stream. Edo is a big community and POCO fan who's been really active on the POCO community. And yeah, let's get him in. And he's also been having fun with the POCO F3. So let's get him in and talk about it. So is Edo in?
It will be popping any moment. There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
Hey,
Hey
Edo.
guys. Hey everyone. Hello. Yeah. My name is Chiang. Usually my friend call me Edo, and I am one of POCO enthusiast team in POCO community.
Mhm.
And my job is creating a special content for the POCO community, like talking about the latest POCO smartphone like the POCO F3 one. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Cool. No, nice to have you on board. I see a lot of people are saying hello to Edo from POCO community.
Yeah, I was
which is
going to say
awesome.
our fan has fans. That's amazing.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I think our POCO enthusiast team at POCO community is doing an awesome job. I had a great time last week talking to one of the fans named Chris, which was X3 Pro. So I'm really excited to get Edo on here. So Edo, I see that you have yourself a Night Black POCO F3. So share your experience, share experience, what you loved about it, and what have you done with it, and then let's talk. Yeah.
And first time I get it, I just installed a Genshin Impact and just play it in the highest resolution with 60 FPS in the outdoor one, and so far, this one I can survive until about 1 hour and more. After that, the heat is just going because in here the temperature is about 36 Celsius, and this phone is still
that's really warm.
Yeah, and
that's awesome.
I just put it after it's showing a notification about the heating issue, and after I just cool down about 5 minutes and just play it again, and yeah, it's just keep going, Koi. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's good to hear. So I see people are actually mentioning the dimming issue again for F3. So the dimming issue right now is actually not just on the POCO F3. I think it's on a lot of other devices as well that we're known to. So the POCO team is and the R&D team is working together with MIUI. It will be a software OTA update to fix the issue. This could be an issue of the compatibility of the game and the chipset or the software, something that we're looking into. But for me personally, I actually didn't get that much. I don't think it ever happened once for the dimming issue. So, but the fans out there, if you guys want to know, we're working on it and it will be a fix available soon. But yeah, so I think Edo's played Genshin Impact. So I think Genshin Impact is the one game that I think all three of us play. I think Genshin Impact it's a pretty demanding game. Like I didn't expect it to be, but it is. At the end of the day,
what's great is Edo and I were talking right before we came on about how games like Genshin are a great example of how with the performance we have in these phones, now we can change graphics settings. Like that sort of aspect of the PC world is starting to become part of our phones, which is pretty amazing. And like we were talking about Genshin, of course, but there's also Wild Rift, League of Legends Wild Rift, which has been a game I've been playing a lot on this phone. Just to bring it up because of its settings, it can actually get up to 120 frames per second, but it's not selectable yet. So it's on the developers to, I mean, this phone can do it, guys. Like, come on, Wild Rift developers, you gotta turn those features on.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think Genshin's max at 60 right now, right?
Yeah, right now it is.
I believe it's 60 is max. But yeah, I think it's a great phone. But yeah, so Edo, what do you think of the whole phone besides just the performance? What do you love about it? What do you love about it most?
I like the most actually is a display one. Yes, it's a AMOLED.
Okay.
And yeah, the one feature I like is always on display because
Okay.
Also, yes, this phone is very thin and it's very good to volume.
Okay, so do you actually use your phone usually without case or with case? I actually want to know because this is just a very interesting question that we never get to seem to get that many of an answer to it.
Yeah, actually it's quite nice, to be honest.
Okay. Well, Josh, do you usually use a case? I know you have so many phones that I don't know if you bring it out too much on the street, but I'm sure you're just playing with it at home.
It's so funny because what I always appreciate, especially I think pretty much every POCO device I've ever used has come with some sort of case. in the box.
Yeah.
Like it's part of the unboxing experience. I think that's really cool. And then in this case, like it's clear that you guys know that the phone is a good looker. That's why the case is clear. So I'm really into that. The only times that I really need it is when, so this is kind of a personal thing, but like for me, when I know that I'll have like the phone slipping in my hand, that's when I go reach for the case. But otherwise, usually it's just on its own. Yeah. And more so than we were talking about earlier, but more so than any other POCO phone, I think this has like such sleek and good looks. So I don't really want to cover it up too much. The only reason why I would cover it up is if I want to put like one of those rings on the back.
To watch content. I know what you mean. Yeah, no, 100%. I think because for me, before I started to have a bunch of phones on my desk, that I could just switch like literally every day. I actually can't live without a case. I'm weird. I just feel like I feel bad if I have a scratch on my phone and then I like get really sad and I want to replace it because it's not perfect. But yeah,
well, I know that early in my career, I made a name for myself by dropping phones. I don't actually do that. So let me just say.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. No, 100%. I think it's one of the things that it matters to us because, we have to take in consideration at POCO. Even I think, Edo, when you're working in POCO enthusiasts, one of the things that I think fans at the end of the day would most likely put a case on once they buy the purchase or buy the phone. But it's nice to appreciate without it. And I think all three of us have done that. And it's why we kind of like appreciate the whole overall design. But even with a case, I think because the phone is so thin originally, it's not that thick of a phone, even then. Yeah. So I just saw someone says I already ordered mine from Austria, which is awesome. Congratulations, you have the real beast. You've tamed the real beast very soon. So that was a joke that we love to make with my colleagues. But yeah, so Edo, I think you've joined in Enthusiast for quite a while now, and I know you've been experiencing our phone. So one of the biggest things that's happening in the POCO community, and I think Josh, you probably will do this in your review as well, that you guys take a lot of photos, and this is a time where I want to get a lot of people's thoughts on camera. Now, camera is one of the points where I think it's not like a new complaint by users or fans, but we're kind of going against the overall smartphone industry flow, right? Because everyone is, all the newest flagships, all the latest phones are like, oh yeah, we got the best camera. And we're kind of going away from that. And I kind of want to know your thoughts on it. I kind of want to know your thoughts on, how do you think of F3's camera? And then I would probably give you guys a breakdown of why we did what we did with the F3 or even on our previous device. So yeah, Josh, you can give your thoughts, and then Edo can also give their thoughts as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. So what's funny is I've known this about POCO since the beginning, that this is not even in a negative way. It's a little bit less of a focus. It's more about providing value and performance for that value. So with that mentality in mind, I kind of knew that coming into this device. So while the camera, now here's the thing. I'm also, and I was actually telling Edo this before we got on, I'm actually a very specific user in that, yes, I do look at content creation as one of my barometers of a device. But when I already have the mentality that a phone is not really focused upon those things, I don't really give it like way too much weight. That being said, if this was the phone that I could afford right now, that was the one that I could actually put money down for and use every single day, the camera is decent enough that I can get really good photos. Now, the video creator in me might be wanting a little bit more, but the photos are going to be just fine for those, let's say, incidental moments where I do want to get a good photo of something around me. But there's, I think a few people, myself included, have been making the point that if you're going to be paying for this phone and you're going to be using it in the long term, it's the performance that will stand the test of time longer than the camera. Because like you were saying, camera tech goes so crazy like every single year. But if what you're looking for, like what's the thing you do the most every single day? It's use your phone, not necessarily shooting with it. So the priority, I think the priority is very good.
I mean, I don't even need to justify anymore. I think you nailed down exactly what we kind of thought through when we were building not just the brand itself, but just in general of how we go forward with some of our devices this year and even last year as well. But yeah, I would like to know Edo's thoughts. Have you played around the camera? You know, what did you think of it first?
I think, well, I will say I'm very very I mean, I'm very disgusted about this kind of spec. Actually, it's not my favorite, but when I first try it, okay, I will say first, I'm not a macro camera fans, but this time I turned into the try this Tele macro one, and actually I get a many interesting picture to see, and
Yeah.
if you guys in the community want to see it, you can go to the POCO community, and I will post it about what I see interesting I can take from this POCO F3 macro camera. To be honest, actually I very hate, not a fan for the macro camera. Now actually I become a very fans with this macro camera.
Cool. Awesome.
And
it's good to hear.
yeah, I'm right there with Edo, because I think it was with the gosh, which one was it? Was it with the F2 Pro or the X3 NFC? I'm trying to remember which phone it was where I was using the macro camera and I was actually really impressed. And I was just like, oh, awesome.
Probably the F2 Pro.
It was probably, yeah. That sounds right. I remember using the macro camera there and I thought, oh, I actually like these photos. Like normally it's not the case, but I actually like these photos. And it kind of continues here. I'm right there with you, Edo.
Yeah. Because the macro actually is you can see about different world, like we usually like using a ultra-wide landscape camera, landscape photo. But using a telemacro, actually you can see a many interesting photo with this.
Totally.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think so. The interesting story is that we were discussing, because you know when we talked about this phone, we wanted to fit in the 5 megapixel telemacro photo, which was also used on the POCO F2 Pro. And that was one of the features that we absolutely loved as a team. And we also saw the effects that it took and basically thought that it's actually pretty good. I think when people explore it, I think it's kind of been, it's not been ruined, but it's also kind of been, you know, people are saying that, oh, we don't need depth sensor, we don't need macro photos, we don't need macro lens, we just need ultra wide and main camera. But at the same time, I feel like by having this option of telemacro, you can actually take a complete different type of photos that's just available on your phone. Like, I think that it's rare to have a macro lens on a phone that's like just in your pocket. Because like when you want to take macro photos from a DSLR or like an actual camera, it's like, it's so much, it's a hassle. It's like, it's a big thing to try to actually accomplish. So I think one of the big things that my personal favorite was definitely the macro lens. I think when I went on a shoot with the POCO F3, and then I was, you know, basically checking all these macro shots that they were taking, I was so impressed. But to kind of sum up everything we just talked about, like what you guys said, what Josh and what Edo said about the overall camera is pretty good, and it's not like it's the worst camera. It's definitely not the worst camera, but it's not the, you know, it's not the best side, because we have 108 megapixels pushing out by a bunch of companies, and 64 is pretty common, and then also the big sensor sizes with low megapixels. So one of the reasons what Josh kind of says and want to re-emphasize on a lot of our fans was that we did put performance as priority, and that has been, you know, I think Joshua, you know, that I've been kind of emphasizing that throughout all the series, not just F series, but all the series. And the reason behind that is that at the end of the day, I think one of the big things that we saw from our fans, not just, you know, besides the camera comments, was that, you know, they want a phone with a performance that lasts 2+ years, you know. And if we were to actually push out a phone that has 108 megapixels and then put in a 888 or 870 or 865 at that point, I can just tell you all the fans right now, it's like, I can't keep, like, it's a great phone, it might be the perfect phone, but it won't be at this price range. And it'll lose that. It will just become a whole different category, right? It's just not possible from a product level and from a market level, industry level. And there are other companies out there right now, for the camera enthusiasts, there is 108 megapixels around 300 to 400 euros exist, but then they'll push in a processor that is significantly less powerful than the A70 or the A60. And I think one of the things that I think if you guys have played around with a lot of cameras and a lot of phones is that even when you have a great sensor, but you don't have enough power to power that sensor, the photos actually don't come out as great as it could be. And also the experience is not super nice. So at the price range of $299, we focus on performance rather than the overall, trying to aim for the perfect phone. Because I don't think that really exists with the perfect price. So yeah, I mean, really for us, we focused,
I think that's a really good point, because I think that even if you have quote unquote the perfect phone, if you can't afford it, you're not going to have it anyway.
Exactly. Right. I think it's just I mean, I can't emphasize enough. I think, for our low variant of 299 on A70, 48 megapixel triple camera, and we didn't talk about the audio zoom yet, which we will very shortly. I want to know both of your comments on that as well. It's crazy. It's crazy because for 3 times of either of these prices, you're potentially getting an 888. You are getting an 888, but the power difference between 888 and this, it's not 3 times the price at the end of the day. It's not 3 times the performance, which is why I think for everyone who wants the F3, check out the link below for AliExpress and check if you can be delivered to your location. And if not, ask POCO Global at social media account or at community to basically check if they can be delivered. But yeah, I think the one thing that I want to emphasize was that the audio zoom. Now, this was an interesting feature. And we weren't 100% confident how people would feel about this. So I want to know your thoughts, actually. What did you think about this rear dedicated microphone?
I'm actually really happy that it was there, because when it comes to vlogging, which is something that I do on occasion, so right. But it's good for the audio to actually be really good on there. And I think the first thought that I had was that when the audio was actually coming out quite nice in the videos that I was recording with the rear camera, I would turn it around. I actually had it on, so I should actually show you. But when I would turn it around and actually like vlog using the cameras on here, I was very impressed with the audio, and I kept thinking to myself, well, of course it would be, because it's also got a great microphone array for like gaming and whatnot. So maybe it's just leveraging that. But now you're saying that it's like it's a specific feature to the camera. So yeah, I'm down for it in general. As far as, like I was saying before, I might not vlog too often on this phone, but at least I know that the audio is going to come out quite nice.
Right. What do you think? Have you tried out the audio zoom feature?
Yes, actually, but I'm not a for the vlogging. Actually, I just tested.
Okay.
And I tried what the sound I think it's this sound which actually come from, but when I just realized it, actually it's from the middle one. When I zooming, the voice actually is quite clear for me. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think one of the things that we wanted to we were unsure about was the audio zoom, but once we tried it and once we played around with it, we were pretty confident that, like, look, this is a pretty cool feature that we can put into this phone for $299. So it was pretty fun for us. So yeah, I think overall, I think the F3 for us was the closest thing we've ever had to what people wanted for F1. At the end of the day, F1 was, the performance, overall package was great. And we wanted to replicate that. We wanted the fans to kind of really be happy with everything that's got inside. So from a POCO enthusiast, Edo, do you think that this phone lived up to what we wanted to be, which was a success for F1, basically?
Yeah. Yes, I kind of agree with Angus said. The F3 actually is quite like the POCO is like the back to the roots, well, the POCO F1, the legend now it's become a legendary phone right now. Yes, it's actually have a good performance on it, and now we have a the AMOLED screen that what we like it very much, and special for the, I mean for the fingerprint sensor actually is very good one, and yes, that's it.
Cool. I mean, I think
I like this whole
ahead,
idea
Josh.
that I like this whole idea that it's coming back to its roots, because like I said before, I have very fond memories of the F1 that particular time, because POCO being a bit iconoclastic in the sense that, oh yeah, we're bucking a certain few trends. You're still going to get the highest processor, but this is what we're doing to make it a really good price. And like when you were showing off the price of the F3, I kept thinking to myself, yeah, I review a lot of phones, and especially here in the West, there are actually a lot of phones that do hit this price point, but I can tell you right now that virtually none of them hit the performance aspect that the F3 does. I certainly could not game the way that I do on those phones with all the settings on.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, it's fantastic. And seeing that graphic that you have in your hands there, I was like, yeah, I could think of maybe like 5 different phones that are coming at $299 or $349, but literally none of them I would pick over this as a daily device.
I mean, that's great. I mean, I'm so pleased to hear that, to be honest. But yeah, 299 actually have a very special story to it. So I don't know if you guys know, 299 was actually a specific early bird price we wanted to do, because 299 for the POCO F3 is actually the same early bird when we first launched the F1 roughly 3 years ago, and it was the same early bird price in Europe when we first launched in Europe. And I think that was one of the things that, it was kind of a subtle hint of saying like, look, we really want this to be as good as what the fans thought of F1. And we believe that from the performance ratio, from all of the specs and experience, is going to basically make it happen. I think one of the things that I want to ask, because we don't have that much time left, we have roughly around 10 to 15 minutes.
That went by kind of quick too.
I kind of want to, I know, I mean, I enjoy this. I'm loving that you and Edo are here just chilling, and we're just basically chilling with everyone, basically on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. But, I think we talked about all this, specs about the F3. I want to hear some improvements that we can make in the future. And this is coming from a tech influencer view, coming from a fan. And I love all the fans on YouTube are, just come join us, talk about it. It's okay. I'm here to open to all of your advices, and your complaints is what's gonna, what I'm gonna screenshot and then send it to the team and be like, look, these people want this, want that, and that's how we actually do things. At the end of the day, what sticks to our mind is how many times our users are constantly saying, oh, for example, like last year, everyone's saying, oh, bring 120 Hz AMOLED. Where's the high refresh rate? The first thing we talked about was high refresh rate in the POCO F3 meeting. We're just like, hey, does it have high refresh rate? Okay, it does. Okay, cool. So that was one of the things that the fans really wanted. So today we're going to do that the same thing. We're gonna talk about. Okay, I just saw someone say come back with the 3.5mm jack and the SD card. Okay, so that's. So actually, I want to know your thoughts on that. I know. Joshua, you said that you use a lot of wireless earphones, and then Edo, are you a big fan, or do you think it's essential to have a headphone jack? Because we did have it for the F2 Pro, but we moved it for the F3 because we wanted to keep it really thin. So I was wondering, what do you guys, what are your thoughts on that actually? And thanks for the fan for actually mentioning that.
Go ahead, Edo. I want to hear your thoughts first.
Okay. Actually, it's question back to the viewers also. How often you bring your earphone with a the headset with a 3.5 head jack to go outside? Usually people bring not a 3.5 headphone jack headset to outside, but only for the indoor one. And I know what people like it because for the latency for the gaming, because using the Bluetooth one when you play in game in using a headset, of course you prefer the have a 3.5 headphone jack, but using a TVS actually is quite good for people who want to go outside to taking a photo or playing a game with a friend in the outdoor one. But when go to indoor, usually not people will prefer using the 3.5 headphone jack.
Okay, understood.
I do agree with I do agree with some of the thoughts in terms of like latency. I will say latency is actually very low. I use wireless audio all the time. Like I mentioned before, I usually use wireless audio glasses. And that's one of the ways that I get the sound. But I will say one of the reasons why I would think the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack would be nice is because of like not necessarily battery life on the phone, obviously, battery life on the actual headphones themselves. So there are just certain times when you want that as a backup. That on top of the whole latency thing, I think is good. As far as the SD card slot is concerned, like it's not really something that I prioritize too much, but I can see why people do. And this is one of those situations where me as a tech reviewer, I already have a lot of solutions for a lot of these things. So of course I can see where a lot of people are coming from with it. But if I were just speaking personally, I think a lot of what I already have in my ecosystem solves those problems. So if I had to think of one improvement, I mean, we already had the whole discussion about camera earlier, but if I can think of one improvement aside from the headphone jack, one thing that I've leveraged on this phone, and to be honest, we know that the performance and the screen are great on this phone, but if I had to pick one feature that is one of my favorites, but I still want to see improved, it's the fast charging. Because there are times the battery comes down, I throw in that 33 watt fast charger, and it takes maybe just under an hour for it to come back to full, and that's great. I would love to see that get even better from here on out. Faster charging, especially for those long gaming sessions.
Fair enough. No, I mean 100%. I think one of the things that we've heard that from not just from you, but from a lot of fans was basically fast charging is something that they would like to see. So that's noted. I think I'll tell every fan that's noted.
Yeah, it's already great. So all I'm saying is keep it going.
Yeah. I understand. Edo, what were you saying?
I'm saying talking about 3.5 headphone jack. I was informed with inside the POCO F3 boxes, you have the dongle.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah.
So
I was just going to mention that.
For? You have already.
Yeah, technically yes, but I think for me personally, I would say that it's sometimes a hassle because you could lose it and it's annoying. But yeah, we put it in there just so we want to make sure at least you can get some sort of wired connection for your headphones. So I do understand, for fans who are asking for the 3.5 mm headphone jack, it's definitely something that we're still looking for, but there is a converter. So yeah, so today I think we are running out of time soon, but there's still a couple minutes left. So I just want to recap for everyone. So today, everything that me and Joshua and Edo talked about today for the POCO F3, you can get it for $299. Now, this is today, AliExpress opened their sale. The link is below. And it's not going to last forever. This is a limited deal. Like everyone needs to realize that $299 is a limited deal. And usually it's going to be $349, which personally to me, it's still a great deal. I think it's still sitting under, as long as 400 euros range. I think it's still an amazing price. This is just even more amazing. So one of the things that I think I would like to kind of mention, I know there's one thing that me and Edo and Joshua hasn't talked about was, what are your thoughts right now on the overall software on POCO in general? Like when you turn on your phone, do you enjoy the current software? I want to touch on these points because I know that a lot of fans ask all of this in almost every day in my posts on Twitter. They'll ask about software, or I see software comments. So I want to know what are your current thoughts and what kind of improvements can we make in the future. It's definitely something we're looking to do. So yeah, you guys can give your personal thoughts.
I'll admit right off the bat that the moment that I get past the initial setup, Since I'm familiar with a lot of these software versions, I go straight into the settings and I find a lot of things that I would turn off. Not to say that I don't like those features. It's just I like as much of a streamlined experience as possible. Like for example, I don't have any icons on here. Everything's in the dock, for example. And even then, when I scroll up and I do the app drawer, normally there are categories up here. I make sure to turn those things off. So like one thing that I will give MIUI a lot of credit for is that there are so many features, a lot of which can actually be really fun, like floating windows and whatnot, if you go looking for them. I suppose for me, I just like to have as much of a minimal experience as possible. So it takes a little bit of elbow grease, a little bit of work to get it to where I want it to be, but it's good that I know how to get to that point. Otherwise, all of those extras it's good that they're all there, I will say.
Okay, understood. And Edo?
Actually, I using the MIUI actually is quite long, about let's say about 7 years already, and actually I don't have any problem, to be honest. And the new ones using the app drawer, actually I quite like it. And to be honest, actually it's so close to the almost the stock Android the design for all.
Yeah, I remember the early days. Like you're getting closer and closer to that experience. That's nice to see.
I think one of the main goals, and this is a push, I think, not just from me personally, but from the whole team, that we're going to try to make a software push, and hopefully by sometime this year we'll push out a huge update. And I just saw someone comment, bring more updates to the phone, and we hear you. We're working on it. Don't worry. It's definitely in the works. So yeah, today I think we covered a lot. I think everyone, we went through all the specs, and we can all agree this is a great phone. It's not just me being biased. I think everyone needs to know I'm not being biased. For $299 or $349 for the higher variants, for the 8 gig plus 256, and a 6 gig and 128 gig for $299. Both are amazing prices, and you guys, all the fans, need to go check it out. It's a great experience. I had a lot of fun with it, and I still have a lot of fun with it. I use this and the X3 Pro on my desk every single day, and sometimes as my daily driver as well. So yeah, I'd like to thank Edo for joining us. So Edo, I think I saw a lot of people shout your name. So you're clearly doing an amazing job in POCO Enthusiasts.
Thank you, guys.
And I'm really happy to see that. And I would love to see a lot of the fans sit on POCO community. And Joshua, always a pleasure. I'm glad you enjoyed this phone. I'm also glad that we have this talk, and I hope to see you more often. We got to communicate more often. You got to share your T brand with me and everything. So yeah, I think this is all for today. I'm supposed to give a leak according to my team. No, it's not a leak. So yeah, we've launched F, we've launched X. You guys should know what's coming up next. And it's going to be more than you expect in a lot of ways. And I'll tell you that we still have a long roadmap ahead of us in 2021, and we have big plans coming up. And yeah, so keep in touch with POCO Global on our social media accounts. And also you can follow my personal account or Kevin. Kevin is our head of global. So he'll also make some announcement as well. So yeah, but for now, everyone, thank you for your time. I really appreciate everyone who joined the stream. And also please make sure to check out Joshua's video after this live stream. I believe he's posting it. And also Edo's post on POCO community. I'm sure he's gonna share a lot of awesome things. So yeah, everyone have a good day, have a good night. It's lovely speaking to all of you. So we'll sign off now. So bye Joshua, bye Edo. It's good seeing you guys.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, how is everyone doing today? Welcome to the POCO first online launch event in 2021. My name is Kevin. I'm the head of POCO Global. Since last year in May, we launched the POCO F2 Pro, which was at time, and even now, one of the most affordable flagship killer with a Snapdragon 865. Then, we had the POCO X3 NFC, which really disrupted the mid-range market with flagship specs such as 120 Hz refresh rate and 240 touch sampling rates and features like dual speakers. And the POCO M3 was an entry-level battery based, packing 6,000 mAh battery and all the essential and more. All three devices were loved by the media and was really priced for its performance and value. It's a brand new design website with the ability to purchase products. We will upgrade the POCO community to be available on Android as well. You can experience POCO community with a tailor-made UI, and I look forward in seeing you guys on there. It's available on Google Play Store. Make sure to download it. As of right now, we've shipped out more than 13 million POCO smartphones around the world. As a 3-year-old brand, this was an achievement that's really proud of and gives the POCO team more confidence than ever. With our philosophy of exactly what you need, we were able to nail down camera, design, performance, and battery. But at POCO, we want to make sure we can do more, making sure we meet even more fans' needs. So I would like to welcome Angus on stage to talk about today's upcoming products.
Thank you, Kevin. And hello, everyone. My name is Angus, and I'm the head of product marketing at POCO. Let's talk about exactly what you need and more. Introducing our latest X series. The POCO X3 Pro. With the POCO X3 NFC, we global debuted the 732G, a great mid-range chipset. For the POCO X3 Pro, we'll be releasing the leading 4G processor in 2021. The Qualcomm Snapdragon 860. As an 800 series processor, it uses a flagship structure and only a 7nm process. And this prime core has a pretty high 2.96 GHz speed, offering a ton of power. The Snapdragon 860 comes with the Qualcomm Adreno 640, got a very high AnTuTu benchmark of around 490,000. Among the 4G chipsets, this is definitely one of the best scores, if not the best. UFS 3.1, which is a standard in high-end flagships these days, but still pretty rare in the mid-range segment, offering a complete flagship performance. The Snapdragon 860, the leading 4G processor, up to 8 gigs of RAM, flagship level, and UFS 3.1 up to 256 gigs, and still kept expandable storage and pushed that to 1 terabyte. We still have a huge battery of 5,160 milliamp, offering easily 2 days battery. So POCO X3 Pro, more performance with flagship 4G processor, flagship 8 gigs RAM option, flagship UFS 3.1 storage, up to 256 gigabyte, that awesome 5,160 milliamp battery with 33 watt fast charging. And of course, we did keep the liquid cool technology 1.0 plus for sustainable performance. Now, thanks to the performance upgrade, the POCO X3 Pro can get even more creative than before. Using the 860 with the AI performance boost, more software features are made available. Let's take a look at the X3 Pro's camera. Now, the X3 Pro still features a quad camera setup, a 48 megapixel main camera using the Sony IMX582, a 119-degree ultra-wide camera, a macro camera, and a depth sensor. But because we have the Snapdragon 860 AI capabilities, we can capture not just during the day, but also at night. But most importantly, we do have the video features that's powered by the Snapdragon 860, specifically video clones and dual video. This is POCO X3 Pro's camera, with more software features powered by the Snapdragon 860 and maintaining a quad camera setup from last generation. And now for design. We've also changed a little bit on the X3 Pro. The POCO X3 NFC was a unique looking device, but we want to make it even cooler than before. And it's still a flagship level display that features 120 Hz refresh rate and 240 Hz touch sampling rate. On the X3 Pro, we added Corning Gorilla Glass 6, giving flagship level display protection. So to sum it all up, on the X3 Pro's design, we have 3 new colors: Phantom Black, Frost Blue, and Metal Bronze. All 3 looks really good. Anti-fingerprint size to keep it more clean, a massive 6.67-inch dot display that still maintained 120 Hz refresh rate and 240 Hz touch sampling rate. All that protected by Corning Gorilla Glass 6 in the front. This is exactly the design and display you need and more. So we kept some great features from the POCO X3 NFC. Big battery of 5,160 milliamp and 33 watt fast charge, 120 Hz refresh rate and 240 Hz touch sampling rate on a 6.67-inch dot display. The dual speakers, the Z-axis linear motor, NFC, IR blaster, and headphone jack. The features we had in exactly what you need. And when it comes to more, we gave you a 800 series processor, the 860, leading 4G processor, up to 8 GB of RAM, up to 256 internal storage of UFS 3.1, and Corning Gorilla Glass 6 and a quad camera with more software features. This is exactly what you need and more. Price. I believe today we won't disappoint our fans at all. We will be offering a great price. But for the X3 Pro, for our base variant of 6 GB and 128 GB, we do have an amazing price. We actually have an early bird pricing on the base variant for 199 euros. If we take a look at this chart, look at the upgrades, then the retail price and the early bird compared to the X3 NFC. Can you see how amazing and crazy this pricing is? If we break it down, our retail price for the Pro is 20 euros less than the X3 NFC and 50 euros less in early bird. Now, for our higher variant of 8 GB plus 256 GB, we also have an amazing price. For the high variant, we actually have an early bird price of 249 euros. Now, to get this crazy price phone, the X3 Pro, it will be available from March 24th to April 1st on early bird pricing specifically for these channels. Our new official POCO website will be one of the first channels you can check out, so make sure you mark your calendars. Now, we'll also be coming soon on a lot more platforms, so please follow our official accounts in your regions to stay up to date on when it will be available.